Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this fourth episode of Weekly Economy Updates for GS Paper 3. And in this particular episode, or in general in this particular series, what we do is that we cover the important economic news articles from the Indian Express, the Hindu, and at last we see some economic updates, especially from the state of Arunachal Pradesh. And in that we'll be covering this particular two newspapers, that is the Arunachal Front and the Arunachal Times. So this week 4 contains news articles ranging from January 21st 2024 to the 31st of January 2024. So the most important news articles which don't repeat themselves, we will see in this particular articles. So let's come to the first news article, that is tax contribution by the states needs to be revisited. Now my friend, this is the most comprehensive article that you will come across, which is very important. It will just act as a revision for whatever we have been understanding since all these years. So this says that the tax contribution by the states means, suppose if you are living in a particular state, we are earning there, and suppose a person from Bihar, he is working in Delhi or he is working in Mumbai. So whatever he is earning in Delhi or Mumbai, he is paying some income tax. So that income tax is being contributed by the state of Maharashtra or by the Union Territory of Delhi for that matter. So this particular article, it says lot many things. But let us first, coming to this particular article, let us first know about the Finance Commission. What do we understand by the Finance Commission? So first of all, Finance Commission, we know that 280 of the article, it's a constitutional body. We don't need to go much in detail. We just have to understand what are the two functions of Finance Commission. The Finance Commission, first of all, it vertically distributes the taxes, right? The tax revenue which is collected in the center. It vertically distributes between center and states, and we have known that since the whatever money gets collected in the central tax base, right, the tax revenue, जो भी tax हम लोग जाता है central government के पास या state government के पास, whatever the taxes that is there, so all those taxes they gets collected, and in the taxes itself there is something known as cess and surcharge. So cess and surcharge, what do we have to know about them? That cess and surcharges are those taxes, if you can say, that they are levied by the central government and they are collected by the central government, and the central government itself keeps those particular charges. It does not give these particular charges. Now after deducting all the taxes that the central government collects, fine, there is something known as a divisible pool. Now divisible pool means that particular amount which will be divided between the center and the states. So suppose the total tax collection is 100 rupees. Fine. Out of this 100 rupees, cess and surcharges, maybe suppose it's 20 rupees. So this 20 rupees exclusively belongs to the center. Okay. So now what is the remaining amount? The remaining amount is known as divisible pool. Pool means what? Collection. So divisible pool is 80 rupees. Now out of this 80 rupees, some money will be kept by the center, and the other money जो center के पास जाने के बाद जो बचता है पैसा, that will be divided among the different states. Fine. And for the union territory, state 1, state 2, state 3 and state 4. So first job of the Finance Commission is that first you have to say how much amount of money the central government will keep for its own projects, and how much amount of money, the remaining amount, will be transferred to the states. Now different Finance Commission over a period of time have given different recommendations. The present Finance Commission, whose recommendation is being followed till the year 2026, has suggested that there will be 41% of the total divisible pool will be kept by the central government, fine, plus 1% extra that will be going to the state of Union Territory, the newly created UT of Ladakh and Jammu Kashmir. So what is left now? 58% is left. So this 58% will be given to the states. So first job of the Finance Commission is done. Now this next question. Does the recommendations of Finance Commission is binding? No, the answer is it's not binding. Okay, but the purpose for which the Finance Commission is created is purely a judicial kind of purpose, right? Dividing the money, it's a very, very tedious job, and it requires a lot of respect. For that, Finance Commission has been made a constitutional body, but its recommendation, remember, are not at all binding on the government. But the government accepts it because this is the only reason that the Finance Commission is created. Now, second job of the Finance Commission is to the second job of Finance Commission is to, now this is vertical distribution has been done. The second job is the horizontal distribution of taxes. Fine. Now, horizontal distribution means this 58%, fine, or for this matter, let us say that this 58 rupees, okay, how this 58 rupees will be divided into different states and the union territories. For this, why horizontal word we are using? Horizontal means every state is considered same, so horizontally this money will be divided among all the states. So for this matter, this is the most important part, horizontal matter, and this article is related to this horizontal part only. What the Finance Commission has done, Finance Commission has launched two standards, or Finance Commission has launched two scales, two groups of scales. Why the scales have been launched? So that we'll divide this money among the states on the basis of their performance. But while dividing anything between our siblings, or while dividing anything between the different people, it's a very, very difficult job, my friend. So that everybody remains happy, the two groups of scale have been devised. The one group of the scale is known as the equity scale, okay, and the other group of the scale is known as the efficiency scale. Now, equity means, suppose not all the states are made same. Okay, not all the states. Suppose if I ask you a question, tell me or think कि one of the, suppose बचपन में हम लोग को देख लीजिए, दो भाई बहन हैं हम लोग, हाँ. So suppose one of the brother, he scores 60% marks in the examination, class 5 examination. In the class 5 itself, उसका एक एल्डर सिस्टर भी है सपोज, तो एल्डर सिस्टर को आता है 94%. छोटे वाले जो उनका जो छोटा बेटा है वो भी 5th क्लास में है, he gets around 60%. The elder sister gets 94%. Tell me, the parents would love, किस बच्चे को ज्यादा पेरेंट्स प्यार करेंगे, 94% वाले को या 60% वाले? Oh come on, बहुत डार्क आपका चाइल्डहुड गया है. तो पेरेंट्स वुड लव बोथ ऑफ देम इक्वली, राइट? दिस इज व्हाट इक्विटी. हाउ डिड यू से दैट कि 94% वाले को ज्यादा प्यार करेंगे? यू कैन नॉट से दैट, कम ऑन. फिर तो आपको आपका जो बचपन है, योर चाइल्डहुड, इट वाज वेरी वेरी बैड एंड आई फील सॉरी फॉर यू. एनीवे, सो दिस इज इक्विटी. इफ बिहार इज पुअर, राइट, गवर्नमेंट वुड लव बिहार. If Kerala is rich, Karnataka is rich, government would love Kerala and Karnataka both. Why? Because all these states are horizontally equal. Who is the parent? The central government becomes the parent here. So there are some very poor states, my friend, Bihar, UP. Why they are poor states? Because they primarily depend on agriculture. So agriculture, may we know one data that agriculture contributes around 18% to our GDP, right? And one more data we know that around 50% of the population of this country is engaged somehow in the agriculture. So 50 people out of 100 people, they are coming together to produce only 18 rupees for the economy. It means that people are not getting that much, not contributing that much, means people are poor. So the Finance Commission adopts two scales, the equity scale and the efficiency scale. It says that first of all, we will try to uplift, we'll try to give those states more amount of money who are very poor, who cannot manage resources on their own. But at the same time, those states which are performing really at a faster pace, be it Karnataka, be it Maharashtra, right, they don't have much agricultural scope because of the geographical factors, but they have been promoting a lot of manufacturing industries or a service sector industry for that matter. So उनको भी खुश रखने के लिए we have to adopt this efficiency scale. Okay. So the criteria adopted by the Finance Commission is basically of two, that is equity and efficiency. Now in this equity and efficiency, these are the broader topics. Under this equity and efficiency, government has started giving a lot of things. For example, government has said if a particular state is poor, not government, the finance commission, so income distance has been given a more priority of 45%. But if you have if a particular state is more poor, so according to the poverty, right, in each state there will be ranking, which is the most poor state. Is it Chhattisgarh, is it Jharkhand, is it Arunachal Pradesh, is it Bihar, right, whatever the government has data with, and accordingly 1 2 3 4 it will be done. So 45% of this 58 rupees will be divided among the states. Now how that is done, that is not important for your examination. Now, after income distance, again government has said that if a particular state has a larger area, so it is very difficult for that particular state to manage its resources, because it has to spend more in order to manage a larger area wise. So area has been given a 15% weightage. Similarly, if you go further, so if you have a larger population, you will be rewarded because you will be given more. You'll have to get more and more this money to manage that, effectively manage that population. And again, the last, we have to give benefits to the states who have maintained their this forest. Fine, who have maintained the forest in their states. So this is around 10%. What is the total? So if we add the total, it comes around 85%. So 85% of the fund, fine, it goes to on the equity scale. What is left? 15% is left. Fine. ये 15% पैसा किसको देते हैं? जो स्टेट बेस्ट परफॉर्म कर रहा है, जो गरीब नहीं है. If you understand that in other matters. So efficiency scale में if you look carefully, so the most important contribution goes to the demographic performance, my friend. Now what is demographic performance? Demographic performance means that particular state which have efficiently controlled the population or efficiently utilized the excess population it has, means that particular state which has created a large number of employment opportunities, that particular state which has used a lot of unskilled workers or have done something to lift that unskilled population by doing some skill training, sort of human capability of this human training and approach. So uske hisab se the states will be rewarded. So they have been given a 12.5% amount. So this is what, under the efficiency criteria, obviously the states, the Bimaru states that we used to earlier call, the states like Bihar, UP, West Bengal, the northeastern states, right, basically because they are not that much efficient now. I mean northeastern states, right, basically because they are not that much efficient now. I mean means this is a reward. Efficiency dena means reward dena. Okay, you are rewarding the best out of the each state. Equity means you are recognizing that you are particularly poor, you need to be made equal, right? And next is the tax effort. So those states which are creating a lot of, which are investing a lot of effort in increasing their tax base, fine, so we give them a 2.5% credit. Now what is tax effort actually? How they do it? Fine. Tax effort means, suppose let us consider the example of any particular state such as Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so when we talk of Arunachal Pradesh, so suppose what is the GDP of Arunachal Pradesh? We don't know. Suppose the GDP of a particular state is 100 rupees. Out of this 100 rupees, what is the state's own revenue? इसमें जीडीपी में तो 100 रुपए हो गए. जीडीपी तो देश का मतलब उस पर्टिकुलर स्टेट का ओवरऑल प्रोडक्शन हो गया, फाइनल गुड्स, फाइनल प्राइस ऑफ द प्रोडक्शन, ऑल द गुड्स प्रोड्यूस. एंड सपोज द रेवेन्यू इज 20 रुपीज. आउट ऑफ दिस 100 रुपीज ये तो जीडीपी हो गया और आपका रेवेन्यू कितना आया? तो 20 रुपीज खुद का रेवेन्यू है, मतलब स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का खुद का रेवेन्यू इज 20. सो इफ यू कट ऑल दिस, इट बिकम्स हाउ मच? It's 20%. I mean, if you look at it carefully, so it is what? 2 1 2, 2 5 10. Fine. So it is 1 by 5. Now, if you see 1 by 5, what is 1 by 5? It is 0.2. So Arunachal Pradesh ka tax efficiency is 0.2. Similarly, suppose in Bihar, So the GDP of Bihar, suppose it is 100 only, it can be more than that, it's not important. And in Bihar, the state's own revenue is 10 only. Okay, so this is what, 1 by 10. What is 1 by 10? It's 0.1. So who has performed better? Arunachal Pradesh has performed better because उसका जो owned revenue है वो 0.2 है in its GDP, but Bihar is only 0.1. So in this particular case, Arunachal Pradesh will get preference. This is what tax effort is. Okay, so this particular news article is saying that कि those states which are giving a lot of amount of money, they are not getting the benefit, because suppose Maharashtra has contributed most number, सबसे ज़्यादा टैक्सेस महाराष्ट्र ने कलेक्ट किए और सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को दिए, बट महाराष्ट्र का जो कलेक्ट किया हुआ पैसा है वो बिहार और यूपी के स्टेट्स में जा रहा है. Why? Because that is going where? That is going in the divisible pool. So states which are performing well, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Telangana, because of the services sector boom that they are performing well, they are complaining time and again to the finance commission, to the central government, saying that they are being disadvantaged. Why they are being disadvantaged is that their hard earned tax collection is being shared with those states. Okay, but again there is a fact, my friend. If a Bihari is working in Maharashtra, he is earning income tax, but he is earning income tax, he is paying income, he is earning income, he is paying income tax, but he is paying income tax in Maharashtra. So Maharashtra ka economy is not growing only because of the Maharashtrians. Getting it? So this is one area. This particular article says that in this tax collection, in this divisible pool, government should look into the GST part also. Means the 16th Finance Commission is already doing their circles because it has been formed, and Dr. Arvind Panagadia is the new chairman of the 16th Finance Commission. So this particular news article is saying that in the 16th Finance Commission, more and more focus, more and more weightage should be given to efficiency rather than equity. Because equity में देने का मतलब ये हुआ कि disadvantage करना किसके साथ, जो grow करना चाह रहे हैं. Which states are trying to grow? Who have worked on their demographic performance, who have worked on their tax efforts. Fine. So they say that this particular news article says that in the 16th Finance Commission, government should focus on GST also. GST share. What is GST share? Means GST is what? GST is a destination based tax. So that particular state which consumes a lot of amount of goods, okay, so they will contribute more in GST. Fine. So the authors, the writers of this particular news article, they raise a very good point. Why not make GST also a basis? Why not include the GST contribution under the tax efficiency? You see, last paragraph, please read the second last paragraph here. It says that including the relative GST contribution and petroleum consumption of a state in the distribution formula is irresistible for yet another reason, that is, both these two indicate the relative difference in the income and accrue to the resident of a state. The share of CGST and union excise duty is about 30% of the state share. So just the last two paragraphs you please read in the 23rd January 2024 the Hindu article. This article just shows, just makes a case. Why not include, right? Why not include the GST data? Why not include that particular state which consumes a lot of amount of petrol? Because they are also contributing. See Bihar, look at the population of Bihar. So obvious सी बात है कि they will consume. They will be the largest consumer. Okay. So once Bihar is also the largest consumer, it is also making a manufacture of goods produced in Assam, making a manufacture of goods produced in Maharashtra to produce more, because people are ready to consume. You look at the northeastern states. People, they don't have a lot of primary sector activities, lot of secondary sector activities. So they are what? They are just consuming. Whatever we are ordering at our homes, we are consuming. Right? So GST is a destination based tax. So Arunachal, Bihar, Northeast, they are giving more and more GST contribution to the states. And if the GST contribution is accepted as one of the criteria for determining the funds, that would be a more equitous and more equitable, we can say, a distribution. So this particular news article is about the same. Fine. Hope you get the point. Now let's move to the next news article, that is again in the Hindus of 24th January 2024. It says that India's toy exports are booming again. Now this topic is being finding the news time and again many times. So I feel in the mains examination one should be ready with this particular news article. It just says that कि India का toy export is growing. Now, toy export can grow for many reasons. One reason is maybe the imports are less. So in comparison to the imports, we can say that export is more. Fine. But this makes a point that from 2015 fine to 2023, toy export have increased by 2.4 times or 240%. What is 240%? Suppose 100 rupees ka toys were being exported outside in 2015. So now, if we see now, it has been increased by 240 times, under 2.4 times. Means now what is the situation here? Now the situation is that 240 rupees ka saman is now being exported outside. This is the simple understanding that you have to keep in mind. 240% increase. Now, if something is 100, what is 100% increase? It becomes 200. If something is 100, what is a 200% increase? It becomes 300. Getting it? So obviously this is the overall increase that we are seeing, but we should not be over enthusiastic just by looking at this particular fact. ये बता रहे हैं कि how is it happened? They say that there could be two reasons. First is protectionism. Now what is protectionism? Protectionism is a political ideology. It means that when the government is protecting the domestic manufacturer, as we used to do it in the first some 5-6 5-year plans, we followed protectionism, my friend. When you follow protectionism, you do two things. First, you increase the import duty, fine, and you decrease the export duty. Obviously, because once you increase the import duty, things which are being imported, they will become more expensive. And once they become more expensive, obviously, we will not consume it at that level which we are consuming right now. Fine. So they say the same point. And secondly, the imposition of the non-tariff barriers can reduce the supply. It can raise the prices and thus reduce the demand. Also, they say that investment could expand the capacity and augment, productivity and all those things. So this is 2 points that they are saying, especially in COVID times when imports were restricted. Toys, still today, if we can remember our childhood, we used to visit melas and all, and we were very fascinated by the dolls. We were very fascinated by the cars we used to drive on our railings. But now the case has been quite a bit different. The kids are being introduced to mobile phones and they are enjoying their life in that, and the parents are also very relaxed. So one thing is that demand has reduced, and the kids which play from toys are now hardly till 3-4 years. Beyond 3-4 years, we'll hardly found any kid playing full time with the toys, because they are more interested in watching televisions, they are more interested in watching mobile phones and all. So but still, this news has appeared twice in the last 2 months. So this becomes important. So just go through the data. It's nothing much here. They just credit Make in India, and definitely Make in India plays a role, because things which we can easily make in India, why to unnecessarily import it from outside? Fine. So just go through this particular data. Nothing much to read. Just keep in mind about the trends which can be important for our exams. Now next, again a data has been released by the State Bank of India about the rising gap in incomes. Key rising gaps in income ko we call inequality. And for our examination, understand one thing, कि whenever we remember inequality, two things must always come to your mind for prelims point of view. What is the prelims point of view? Is that, do you know about Lorentz curve? Fine. Now Lorentz curve is simply nothing. Lorentz curve is like this. What is Lorentz curve? Suppose we draw a graph here. So this particular graph we draw as income, and this particular graph we draw as population. So Lorentz का हिसाब से there is one बीच का line goes forward. What is this particular line? This is the ideal line. Now ideal line means state of equality. It is a state of complete equality. Okay. Now in this Lorentz curve it says that, so this is 0%, this is 20% of the population, 40% of the population, 60% of the population, 80% of the population, right? Similarly the income goes. So what is Lorentz line? Lorentz curve? Lorentz curve is just like this. Say, so this is case 1. This is Lorentz curve. झुका है, this gap, suppose this gap is 1 centimeter, right? I mean this gap is 1 centimeter, suppose. Next year what happens? Suppose this gap increases. So what is the, now the duration is 1.5 centimeter. So the farther this curve goes from the ideal line, more the country is unequal. Now what is inequality in simple terms? Inequality means, suppose India में है 100 लोग, right? The total population of the country is 100. So divide this 100 into two groups of people, 20 people and 80 people. They are two distinct people. Now this 20% of the population holds 80 rupees. Total population is 100 and total wealth of the country is 100, suppose. Okay. So this 20 people controls 80 rupees and this 80 people control 20 rupees. This is the state of inequality in India presently. In simpler terms, because there are many data about inequality, we don't have to go in much detail about all the data. Just remember this. Now next year, suppose this is case 1. Fine. So Lorentz curve is like 1 centimeter far away from the ideal line. Now if the Lorentz curve goes towards the ideal line, it means inequality is reducing. Now in case 2, suppose what happens, this 80 people and this 20 people are there. Fine. This 20 people are now holding 70 rupees and this 80 people are now holding 30 rupees. What has happened? This 80 have grown little bit more paise wala. Getting it? Now what will happen in this case? Inequality is reducing. So if this happens, this case 2 happens. So in this case 2, my friend, very simply we can say that in this case 2, if this case 2 happens, this Lorentz curve will go here. Are you getting it? This is the Gini coefficient, we call it. So remember two things. First is the Gini coefficient. What is the Gini coefficient? This particular line you have to that keep in mind. Gini coefficient. So Gini coefficient and Lorentz curve. For prelims examination, these two are very, very important curves which say a lot of things about the inequality. Now what is the relationship here? The relationship is farther, matlab duri, right? Farther the curve from the ideal line, more is the inequality. Lesser the curve, lesser the gap, less inequality, right? So this particular news article says that if we use the data from so many other factors, inequality has reduced in India. Fine. You see what they are writing. See, note the table here. They say that the table shows how even though the Gini coefficient has fallen for the tax paying bracket, the divergence of income between the top 10% and the bottom 10% has increased. Up now they are analyzing very micro things. For exam purpose, my friend, honestly this is not at all important. Okay, in your mains answers just have to mention that whenever you say that inequality is reducing, just say that ki Gini coefficient, the value of Gini coefficient, if the Gini coefficient becomes 0, it means everybody is equal. If the Gini coefficient becomes 1, means wide inequality is there. इंडिया में गिनी कोएफिशिएंट है 0.25 के आसपास रहता है. अब अगर ये 0.25 से 0.20 होता है, it means people are becoming rich, everybody is becoming rich, so inequality is reducing. Okay, this is the case here. Not much important data for exam point of view, but largely, you know, if we see from the this part, just you can go through this particular news article presented in the Hindu newspaper. Okay, just go through it, you don't have to know much. Now one more data that you can know here is a Kuznets curve. It is also related to inequality. Kuznets curve simply says, it says more or less nothing, but it says that ki with rising income, okay, with rising income, inequality rises, okay, but after a certain period of time, once that rising income wala economic growth has stabilized, the inequality reduces. Fine. So this is inequality. This is what we are currently observing. In 1991, the Gini coefficient, after 1991, India's Gini coefficient increased. Means India became very unequal country, inequal country when it comes to income. But Kuznets was an economist. He said that once people अचानक से grows because of economic growth, so income growth के साथ साथ inequality बढ़ेगी अचानक से. But एक समय ऐसा आएगा जब there will be something known as trickle down that will be observed. And after trickle down, once the growth will be substantial, once it will reach the maximum potential, what happens? Everybody, the inequality start reducing. Okay, so just we have to wait for that particular part. So maybe we say that from 1991 to 2001, for that matter 2011, for 20 years India has grown rapidly. India still is growing, but now we see certain news every day that this many people have been taken out of poverty, this many people have been taken out of inequalities and all. Fine. So just we have to keep in mind this particular fact. Next, we have Dal Roti Chini, a very good editorial written by the Indian Express on 25th January 2024. It says nothing. Again, it says that, see, food prices, government has done something. The government's strategy to rein in food inflation has been a heterodox mix of export and trading curbs along with import liberalization. Thus, exports of wheat, basmati, white rice, sugar and onion have been banned. Appsc. Government has banned the export of wheat, rice, sugar. If the government bans this export, what happens? More and more wheat, more and more rice, more and more sugar remains in the domestic market. So supply will be there in domestic market. If supply will be optimum in domestic market, obviously food prices will come down. Means it will remain in check, if not come down. Okay. So the point here is, this is a good thing. Government has controlled these particular things, dal, roti and chini. Fine. But this is not good for something known as supply chain. What supply chain? Something known as global, just a minute, something known as global supply chain. Now supply chain has 4 components, in fact 5 components supply chain has. What it has? First is the raw material provider, after that the manufacturer, after that the wholesaler, after that the retailer, and after that the consumer. Now if India was sending wheat earlier, if India was sending to outside, to the global world, rice earlier, sugar earlier, now India is not sending. It means that those countries which were dependent on India, कि इंडिया से राइस आएगा, इंडिया से शुगर आएगा, इंडिया से व्हीट आएगा, तो हम लोग अपना काम चलाएंगे. What they are not poor people, right? They are country because they can't grow rice, they can't grow sugar and all. So they were dependent on India. So India was what? India was the wholesaler. India was a retailer to those countries. India was a raw material provider to those countries. Does this mean that they will not be eating wheat, they will not be eating rice, they will not be eating sugar for that moment of time? No. They will find another seller. Fine. So if India keeps on banning the exports, what happens? It is not good for the international global supply chain that we want to be a part of. If you are not a part of the global supply chain, it has many demerits, my friend. If supply chain, we have to understand supply chain in economics also, in our GS paper 3 also. So ये ban करने से यहाँ के लिए ठीक हो गया. For domestic people it is good, but for foreigner it's not good. India will lose a trading partner. Why? Because nobody will wait for India for 2-3 months. In that case, if our foreign policy is not stable, if our foreign policy is a knee jerk, getting it, if our foreign policy is uh, very volatile, so that is not going to be a good for a longer period of time. That is not going to suit our demands on a sustainable basis, getting it. So this is what it is saying. It's saying that curves have been placed on sugar mills with regard to diversification of cane juice, intermediate stage molasses, and all those things. See, understand always one thing: the macroeconomists of any country, they always focus on two things. First is how to keep the economy growing. Second thing, how to make sure that this economy does not fails. And economy fails in immediate terms because of inflation. Now, because of political reason also, inflation has to be kept in check, my friend. Okay. So for checking the domestic things, government is providing a knee-jerk sort of thing, a reactive thing to the foreign trade policy. It is making it volatile. So this is where we say that the domestic policies affects our national interest. The domestic policies have a role on the foreign policy as well. So this is one such example which you have to keep in mind. For GS paper 2 also, this becomes important. Okay. Now just see the last editorial paragraph, very beautifully written. It says that the government approach reflects an excessive pro-consumer policy bias. Now, why pro-consumer we can understand. Such bias, apart from being anti-producer, isn't in long-term consumer interest either. See, both producers and consumers benefit from this policy, which is predictable and stable. Indian agriculture has been a victim of short-termism, which has deterred much needed investment in processing, cold storage, marketing, and research. Obviously, if you stop the foreign market, how will you expect the investments to come? See, always remember one thing, that we liberalized everything after 1991, my friend, except two things. First is, we did not liberalize our labor market. The labor laws were very strict even after 1991. And secondly, sometimes we say that we never liberalized, we never set free the agricultural market. So two things remain under government control. And we see a lot of problem in agricultural marketing. You look at all the halla around of the MSP and all those things. So yeah, this is a particular case which we should be careful about. Next, Finance Ministry. It's a 30 January 2024 Indian Express. It's a must-read news article for you. Must read, right? You should read this particular of Indian Express. Hindu has not covered it in a great detail. Indian Express has covered it. Just one day before the presentation of the interim budget, which will have a separate video over that, it says that the Indian economy is likely to grow at over 7%. Not important for exam purpose. Indian economy will keep on growing at 6.7, 6.7. Just remember this data 6.7. You will understand. What is important is because the Finance Commission, the Chief Economic Advisor जो है इंडिया के, उन्होंने एक रिपोर्ट निकाला है. It is not the economic survey, because the economic survey will be out in the month of June, July before the full budget. No economic survey will come this time. So it says that a report titled the Indian Economy, a review. इस रिपोर्ट में ये कहा गया है, जो चीफ इकोनॉमिक एडवाइजर है हमारे, वो कहते हैं कि 3 trends will be visible. 3 trends are going to be visible in the upcoming times. Fine. And he says that the first trend that will be visible, or that is being visible now, is the end of something known as hyper globalization. Now, hyper globalization means, globalization we all understand. So globalization as a much heightened level is hyper globalization. Means कोई भी किसी भी तरह का टैक्स नहीं है दो कंट्रीज के बीच में. दो कंट्रीज आपस में इतनी ज्यादा घुल मिल गई हैं कि अब कोई उपाय नहीं है, राइट? There is no boundaries, there is no national boundaries, there is no state boundaries. All the world is now a proper global village, without any bridges, without any taxes. Chief Economic Advisor says now this globalization जो बहुत हाइपर हो चुका था, अब उसका डिक्लाइन हो रहा है, एंड हो रहा है. And he is correct, my friend. Why? Because we see the present geopolitical situation. Red Sea में there is terrorism. Middle East is burning as always. Look at Israel and the war with Gaza. Look at Russia and Ukraine. Look at China and America. So the world is now unpredictable. Now there is nothing sort of we call global supply chain. Now global supply chain is facing a lot of problems. So the chief economic advisor says the presently next 10 years, 15 years that we are going to see is we are going to see a decline in globalization. Not deglobalization, a decline in hyperglobalization. Means suppose globalization is 100, okay, 100 level. So hyperglobalization is 150 level. What is deglobalization? 100 से नीचे आ गया आप 60. सो कह रहे हैं कि अभी ग्लोबलाइजेशन बहुत ऊपर चला गया था, अब आने वाले समय में 150 से ग्लोबलाइजेशन घट के 100 तक आने का कोशिश करेगा. ये बस इसको कैजुअली समझिए. तो ये पहला ट्रेंड है जो इंडिया को ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा, चीफ इकोनॉमिक एडवाइजर से. सेकेंडली ही सेज दैट, लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे कि artificial intelligence is going to play a lot of roles. Means those companies, tech companies, right, they are going to grow, service sector again. And third, they say that the global manufacturing is now shifting, it's now changing. And once you open the page, right, the detailed page of Indian Express, यहाँ पे we find one line, we say that here the first two paragraphs, very important, it's extremely important paragraph. It says that there is a need to lower logistic cost and invest in product quality to hold on to expand market share in areas where India has an advantage. Now he talks about comparative advantage. Now comparative advantage is a term which we have studied in economics. It says that you should invest, you should focus to manufacture those things under which you have an advantage. Fine. So India should focus on comparative advantage. It should not go for things which it does not specializes in. I mean, it's not always to import. It's not always bad to import, right? Things जो इंडिया में बनाना कॉस्टली है, इंडिया शुड not look for forceful production of those things, because कोई भी चीज प्रोड्यूस करने के पहले we need raw materials, we need an ecosystem. So it's fine to import things from other countries. You should focus on the advantage that you have. उसके बाद इसमें ये कहा जा रहा है, this one term for means we can be very sure about. The next term in this particular part, in this particular news article, is now India is going for onshoring, और इसका एक other term है, we call it friend shoring. Fine. एक another term है, we call it near shoring. Now what are these terms? These terms are related to manufacturing. देखिए क्या कह रहे हैं यहाँ पे. He's saying that the era of hyperglobalization in global manufacturing is over. It does not mean that the deglobalization will be upon us anytime soon. Getting it? Now the countries they have taken the last week. So an alternative to the globalization of supply chain will take much longer. हटा दीजिए. That will not deter the government from pursuing onshoring and friendshoring of production with a consequent impact on transportation, logistics, and hence the final prices of the product. Now understand this particular part. Suppose, let us take an example of India. If we take the example of India, suppose India manufactures Maruti car, where? In Delhi, हरियाणा में ये मैन्युफैक्चर हो रहा है. और ये मारुति की कार दिल्ली से मैन्युफैक्चर होके वी आर सेंडिंग टू सपोज साउथ अफ्रीका. यू आर एक्सपोर्टिंग. नाउ व्हाइल एक्सपोर्टिंग इट टू साउथ अफ्रीका और व्हाइल एक्सपोर्टिंग इट टू सपोज सऊदी अरेबिया, फाइन, और व्हाइल एक्सपोर्टिंग इट टू अदर poor countries in the Middle East, in the North American, or anywhere, suppose. So while doing so, obviously the exporting part will be done by the ships, and ships has to cross what we have seen, the Suez Canal, right? There is the issue there, Suez Canal. Now वहाँ पे जाने के बाद जाने से what is happening? Loss होने का chance है, transportation cost high होने का chance है, piracy issues are there, right? So government अब क्या कर रही हैं, जितनी भी वर्ल्ड की गवर्नमेंट्स हैं, इंडिया की जो कंपनी है, तो मारुति अपना क्या करेगी, दे विल शिफ्ट देयर प्रोडक्शन इन द सिटी ऑफ साउथ अफ्रीका इटसेल्फ. इसको क्या बोलेंगे, इसको बोलेंगे ऑन शोरिंग. व्हाट इज ऑन शोरिंग माय फ्रेंड? ऑन शोरिंग इज मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एनीथिंग इन दैट पर्टिकुलर कंट्री ओनली, वेयर that product is going to be consumed. Why the government focus on onshoring? Why not produce in India and export outside? Because while exporting outside, the logistic cost, the transportation cost has increased. Why it has increased? Because the world is now an unpredictable place. Anytime wars are being happening, no one is there to to act as a guardian sort of. So onshoring means you produce something within the boundary of that particular country. What is friendshoring? Friendshoring is the same thing. If you are selling something to America, you produce that thing in America. Or if India is going to export something, suppose in the Middle East, so suppose in that case India is not friend with a particular country A, but India is friend with the A neighbor of A. So India will export all its manufacturing to A's neighbor. तो अपने अपने एरिया के अंदर ही सामान को प्रोड्यूस करना और उसी एरिया में उसको बेचना, rather than focusing on export, because when you focus on export you have to take other factors in mind also. And chief economic advisor says now the world is not good. At present times the world is very uncertain place. We cannot be dependent on the supply chain. So because logistic cost is high, transportation is high. So this is term can be asked in the prelims examination. Onshoring, friendshoring, these are foreign trade related terms. Okay. उसके बाद it presents a very good article about AI. Go and read this particular things carefully. You will understand now this particular news article. Do give it a read, my friend. Okay. Next, let us come to this cyber infrastructure. Government may use push of made in India products. So government is now going to release a new cyber security policy. Now the earlier cyber security policies of 2013, it is now old. Now government is just is preparing a framework. Once the government releases the framework, we will again see this news article. Probably before the elections we'll come to know about this particular cyber security, because things have changed. 2013, now it is 2024. It has been more than 10 years. So dynamics change, new nature of crimes are there. Now we need a comprehensive policy. So once the new policy is out, we will have a look at that. This is also important for GS paper 3. Again, this is a new article on 31st January, Indian Express. Price of distortion we are talking about. The government takes fertilizers industry back to full control era before introduction of nutrient based subsidy system. Not much for mains examination perspective. Just understand one thing, कि price जो फर्टिलाइजर सब्सिडी की गवर्नमेंट इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करने के लिए प्राइसेस को कंट्रोल कर रही है, बिकॉज वी नो दैट कि गवर्नमेंट जब सब्सिडी देती है तो गवर्नमेंट सबसे ज़्यादा सब्सिडी देती है फूड में, उसके बाद सब्सिडी देती है फर्टिलाइजर में, और थर्ड सब्सिडी आता है फ्यूल में. So this is the most amount of money government gives in food subsidy. Food subsidy means what? The PDS, प्रधानमंत्री गरीब कल्याण योजना. Next the fertilizer subsidy and third is the fuel subsidy. Now government fertilizer subsidy में दो तरह का fertilizer बांटती है. One is urea and other is non-urea, means diammonium phosphate, muriate of potash and these things. यूरिया का प्राइस, सपोज अगर यूरिया का प्राइस है 2000 रुपीज पर केजी ऑफ बैग, मतलब पर 50 केजी, ओके, पर 50 केजी. सो गवर्नमेंट इसमें से जो प्रोड्यूस करता है फर्टिलाइजर, जो प्रोड्यूसर होता है फर्टिलाइजर का, उसको डिस्काउंट देती है, उसको पैसे देती है, और किसान को ये फर्टिलाइजर 270 रुपीज पर 50 केजी के बैग का पे करना पड़ता है. तो जितना ज्यादा फर्टिलाइजर किसान लोग यूज करेगा उतना ज्यादा गवर्नमेंट को सब्सिडी देना पड़ेगा. फिर कुछ ये फर्टिलाइजर्स होते हैं जो जनरली रिच फार्मर्स दे हैव, एंड गवर्नमेंट का इनके ऊपर सब्सिडी देने का सिस्टम है न्यूट्रिएंट बेस्ड सब्सिडी, नॉट ऑल इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर योर एग्जामिनेशन. गवर्नमेंट इसमें क्या कर रही है, बोल रही है कि द फर्टिलाइजर्स कंपनीज हु प्रोड्यूस डैप एंड एमओपी, दे कांट sell above this particular price, means they can't keep the price above this particular range because government has to give out more money. So government अपना पैसा को कम करने के लिए, खर्च को कम करने के लिए, अपने fiscal discipline को achieve करने के लिए, government has launched this particular scheme. So this is just a brief about that, not much here to know. Next, let us quickly see the news of Arunachal Pradesh. In this part is the 25th January 2024 Arunachal front. This becomes important because the government is focusing on MSME sector, micro, small, medium enterprises, and one data for mains examination is important. See, It says that the study conducted by the MSME Export Promotion Council and the Confederation of Organic Food for the period of Itna states that Arunachal has a huge potential for agro-forest mineral-based micro, small, medium enterprises. So this is basically processing industries, food processing industries. Obviously, fine, फूड प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्रीज के ऊपर फोकस होगा. डेटा का हिसाब से अरुणाचल प्रदेश में द एस्टिमेटेड नंबर ऑफ एमएसएमई इन द स्टेट इज 23,000 and they employ 43,000 people. So MSME in Arunachal Pradesh, the total units is 23,000 and they employ around 41,000 people of the state. So this particular data you can keep in mind if you're a student of Arunachal Pradesh and you're watching from Arunachal Pradesh. So this data we know we can be using. उसके बाद some good points about MSMEs are given there, the study. Just know this point only. If you know more, you will forget, right? So just know this particular part. Read this particular news article. It's a good one. Next we have a recent article. CM inaugurates infrastructure projects in Anjao along India-China-Myanmar border. Now, why this is important? This is important because of one particular term which has appeared, that is known as Border Area Development Program. Fine. We have Border Area Development Program. Now, BADP is a centrally sponsored scheme. I remember it. Centrally sponsored means central government कुछ पैसा देगा, स्पॉन्सर करेगा उसको, फुल पैसा नहीं देगा. ठीक, तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को भी कुछ पैसा लगाना पड़ेगा. पर है क्या ये BADP? ऑब्वियसली डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बॉर्डर का बीच में आएगा. डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बॉर्डर मैनेजमेंट DAPM का पार्ट है. इसमें यह कहा जाता है कि इंडिया में जितने भी इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर्स हैं, सपोज दिस इज द इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर, ओके, दिस इज द इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर. सपोज दिस इज चाइना एंड दिस इज इंडिया. नाउ इन दिस इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर ये जो लाइन है, राइट, दिस पर्टिकुलर लाइन, इस लाइन से वी विल हैव 10 किलोमीटर का डिस्टेंस हम लोग देखेंगे. 10 किलोमीटर. इन दिस 10 किलोमीटर ऑन दिस लाइन, राइट, जितने भी गांव हैं, जितने भी बस्तियां हैं, जितने भी शहर हैं, बॉर्डर से, बॉर्डर का जो लाइन है उससे 10 किलोमीटर अंदर, वहां पे डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ जो बॉर्डर मैनेजमेंट है उसने एक स्कीम लॉन्च किया है, बॉर्डर एरिया डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम, जिसके अंदर में दे विल फोकस ऑन व्हाट, दे विल फोकस ऑन रोड, दे विल फोकस ऑन एजुकेशन, they will focus on health. मोस्टली रोड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के ऊपर ये लोग फोकस करेंगे. नाउ तो जितने भी बॉर्डर स्टेट्स इंडिया, हाउ मेनी स्टेट्स शेयर इंटरनेशनल बाउंड्री? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू हैव टू नो दिस, गेटिंग इट, तो आप खुद काउंट करिए. सपोज 18, ओके, 18 states and union territories are there which share international boundary. So BADP is in work in this 18 projects. Now infrastructure projects है, तो इसमें 5-year plans भी इंपॉर्टेंट है. तो विच 5-year plan is known as infrastructure plan, if you can remember. So it was started in the Rajiv Gandhi era. तो 7th 5-year plan को हम लोग बोलते हैं इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्लान. और उसी 7th 5-year plan में the scheme of BADP was launched. Under BADP what happens? The central government gives money to the states. Which states? Only the states which share international boundary. So 18 states and UTs are there which receives money. When they receive money, they have to invest this particular money in the projects, and once they invest this particular money in the projects, they have to add some part from their own. जैसे नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न जो स्टेट्स हैं, जितने भी नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न हिली एरियाज हैं, हिली स्टेट्स हैं, तो अगर 100 रुपीज का खर्चा है किसी रोड का ऊपर ब्रिज बनाने में या फुट ओवर ब्रिज बनाने में, so 90 रुपीज विल बी गिवन बाय द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एंड 10 रुपीज विल बी गिवन बाय द अरुणाचल प्रदेश या उस पर्टिकुलर स्टेट के गवर्नमेंट को दिया जाएगा. दिस इज अ वेरी 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 इंटरेस्टिंग स्कीम. रिमेंबर इट, BADP सेंट्रली स्पॉन्सर्ड. इन गांव के एरिया में, बॉर्डर इलाके में रोड, एजुकेशन, हेल्थ को प्रमोट करना बहुत जरूरी है. उसके साथ साथ एक और स्कीम आपको घर पे खुद से पढ़ना पड़ेगा फॉर योर प्रीलिम्स एग्जामिनेशन, दैट इज वाइब्रेंट भारत, वाइब्रेंट विलेज स्कीम. Vibrant village scheme, very 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 important. Now borders with all the countries, be it China, be it Bangladesh, be it Pakistan, be it Nepal, right, all the countries के साथ जो स्टेट लोग बॉर्डर शेयर कर रहे हैं, प्लीज गो थ्रू दिस पर्टिकुलर पार्ट. सो अंजाव इज व्हाट, ऑब्वियसली अ बॉर्डर डिस्ट्रिक्ट. यहाँ पे भी सीएम ने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स लॉन्च किए हैं, राइट? स्कूल होगा, टीचर्स के लिए क्वार्टर्स खोले जाएंगे, दीज मेनी थिंग्स आर there in this particular part. So I guess this will be all from my side in this fourth episode. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.